I drove a Cadillac. Well, he had it all. They say he was the king. But look how happy he was when he split.
Are you ready? Are you ready for your daily dose of radio rehab?
You know who's ready?
Yeah, well,
I know who's ready.
Who?
You.
Oh, well,
You're ready.
okay.
I can hear it.
Okay.
I can feel it.
Yeah, well, I guess, what can I say? Hey, folks, I hope you're ready. Hope your Monday has gone well. Welcome into 101.7 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into Strategies for a Living. I'm Dr. David McMillian. He's Jimmie Bryant.
In high def.
PhD in high def. He's Jimmie Bryant, PhD. That means he produces, he hosts, and he directs.
That's right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, but I've got a question for you. Is it really possible? Is it really possible to connect with God?
Well, I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
We've got a life strategist this evening that says absolutely. In fact, he's David Lieberman, and he says absolutely it's possible to connect with God.
Okay.
And we can find spirituality in Judaism. We're going to ask him why it's important for all of us, whether we're Jewish or not, to understand a little bit about Judaism.
Okay.
He's written a wonderful book. It is you remember Rabbi Rami that we had on, Rami Shapiro that we had on? Yeah, so Rabbi Rami said, that David Lieberman is a teacher who is dynamic, and he said each generation needs teachers capable of articulating a fluidity, and that's what Judaism has, according to Rabbi Rami. And he says that David Lieberman, we should learn from him. He's that kind of teacher. So we're gonna turn to him this evening. He's our life strategist.
Hey, we're curious students.
There you go.
We're ready.
There you go. So the author of Transcendental Judaism, David Lieberman, our life strategist today, talking about enlivening the eternal within to uplift ourselves and our world. We need that. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for a Living, presented by Azalea Cleaners. We're also brought to you by Pintail Roofing. We're brought to you by the Robinson Film Center. We're brought to you by Learning RX, by Cannabis with Love, Hempress, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport. And we're brought to you by the Shreveport Little Theater. Back in a moment with our life strategist, David Lieberman, Transcendental Judaism, this evening here on Strategies. Stay where you are. You're going to see the difference. When you go to Azalea Cleaners, you're going to hear about it too. Azalea Cleaners has been fine dry cleaning since 1958, plus laundry, alterations and repairs, comforters, wedding gown cleaning and restoration. You'll hear about it from your friends because they'll see it too. They'll notice the Azalea difference. Azalea's convenient too. 732 Azalea Drive, 9220 Ellerby Road, and 9227 Mansfield Road. Plus, the front door of your home or business with Azalea's delivery on demand. Just text SETUP to 249-8283, and Azalea will pick up your clothes and deliver them back clean and fresh to you. You can't get better than that. You can't get closer than that. That's the Azalea difference. You'll notice it right away. Others will too. The Azalea difference. Fine dry cleaning since 1958. Text SETUP to 249-8283 and get the Azalea difference. AzaleaCleaners.com.
The following program is paid for by David McMillian.
Hi, I'm Ava Cates, Secretary of the Louisiana Workforce Commission, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the Tech Ready Louisiana program. Tech Ready Louisiana is a tool for everyone. We are pleased to partner with Coursera, an online learning platform to provide Louisianians access to over 6,000 free courses to help you navigate a tech-ready world. You can access Coursera by visiting our website or visit one of our local offices. Are you tech ready? Let's get started.
Sponsored by the Louisiana Workforce Commission.
Arcotech's foot and ankle specialists want to be your first choice when it comes to taking care of all of your foot and ankle issues, small or large. Google reviews tell their story best. Connie M says, I had surgery in their surgery center and it was the easiest surgery I've ever had, and with minimal pain after. Call doctors Greg Bryant, Blair Drummond, and Will Andrus at Arcotech's foot and ankle specialists at 687-8447 to schedule your appointment at one of their 3 locations today. That's 687-8447.
What happens when America's debt bubble finally bursts? The dollar's value would be destroyed along with the value of your 401k or IRA. And this would be a total catastrophe for the nation. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and the debt bubble is just one more reason why I recommend diversifying your retirement account into physical gold. Gold can preserve your savings through almost anything, and if you take advantage of a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group, you pay 0 penalties or taxes when you transfer your current retirement funds. To learn more, text the word HEDGE to 989898, and my friends at Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold IRA company I trust. So text HEDGE to 989898 to request your free info kit on gold IRAs right now.
And welcome into 101.7 FM. And 710 Keel, welcome into Strategies for Living. Jimmie, Bryant, David McMillian. Let's welcome into the program now David Lieberman, who was raised in a Reformed Jewish household and began to immerse himself in Torah in 2003. He trained as a spiritual director, someone who accompanies others on their spiritual journeys. He served as a chairman.
Am I right? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
is that like a guide?
Like a guide, yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
He served as chairman of the board of Valley Beit Midrash, a not-for-profit organization committed to pluralistic, forward-thinking Jewish learning whose ethical teachings drive social activism and engage the next generation of leaders. For 35 years, he's been both an elementary school teacher and a management consultant. Maybe those are connected. David's been successfully introducing new concepts to his audience, clearly, concisely, and using plain language, and we're glad to have the author of Transcendental Judaism, David Lieberman, here on Strategies for Living. David, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you very much, David and Jimmie. Pleased to be here.
I didn't mean to interrupt that wonderful introduction, but you wear so many hats that
he's transcendent.
You raise a great point about how can you have been an elementary school teacher and a management consultant, and I think the thread is that when you're speaking something new to someone,
yeah,
both if they're a second or third grader or the CEO of a company, you need to know what you're going to say. You need to present it in clear, concise language.
There you go.
And that's really the thread that brings them together.
Plus, I would imagine there are some CEOs of companies that probably feel like a third grade teacher.
Now, I can't comment on the air about that.
I know, I understand. You're a consultant. You have to stay on the right side of this stuff, David. Okay, so let me get this question right from the beginning, because I would presume that probably most of our audience this evening does not practice Judaism. So let me ask you, David, why it's important for all of us to have an understanding at some level of Judaism before we get into the transcendence thing?
I think it's important because transcendence is not the ownership of only Jews. Transcendence, the experience of transcendence, which is the quiet, silent connecting with God.
Right.
Some of the listeners may remember from the Hebrew Bible the phrase, the still small voice that Elijah heard on the mountaintop. This comes from 1 Kings.
Yes.
That's an experience that everyone can have. And so my book about connecting with God is one that talks about Jewish theology, Jewish history, Jewish teachings. That's one path that we'll learn more about a Jewish approach to connecting with God. But anyone can connect with God, and through their own spiritual or religious teachings, there are paths to the transcendent.
In fact, for you were raised, as I mentioned in the introduction, you were raised in a Reformed Jewish household, but your Judaism really didn't, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, but you and I chatted the other day, and I think I understood this correctly. Your Judaism really came alive for you when you started meditating, and that was when you were 50 years old or so, right?
Well, not quite. You've got the 50 right, which is when I actually started to immerse myself in Judaism. But I started meditating when I was 21 years old, so we're talking 1975.
You've been at it for a while.
I've been at it now for 48 plus years, and my first experience of meditation was very profound, and I'm going to tie your question into this. It was very profound. I had been taught how to meditate, and I was taught a technique that just facilitates just the quieting down of the mind.
Right.
And I'm going to talk a little bit more about where that leads to. And I was overcome by the most peaceful, calm sense, and a sense of all-knowing came over me, but not knowing anything, but just a knowingness and a sense of connectedness just spontaneously arose. It was very, very powerful. And when I was done meditating, and the teacher said, okay, stop meditating. We'll talk about what you just experienced.
Right.
Then thoughts started to come to my mind because I was thinking no thoughts, really. And the first thought that came to my mind was this. It's seared in memory. I'll never forget it. The birds in the trees and the cars on the highway are singing the song of life together in perfect harmony, and the world is unfolding just as it should be. Now, to me, one of the most notable points, and I mean, there's several in there, but the birds in the trees and the cars in the highway are singing the song of life together in perfect harmony. What that is the spontaneous transference of the oneness of the universe as my senses began to experience them after the experience of transcendence. So that was very, very profound to me.
Yeah.
Now, the Judaism part really, didn't kick in until many years later. And it wasn't until, and I'll tell you the story if you want, but it wasn't until as I was studying Jewish texts decades later. At first, they were very interesting to me, and it was a nice intellectual exercise. It was nice to learn more about Judaism that I hadn't learned when I was growing up. But then after a number of years, the words on the page started to come alive. They sort of jumped out at me like they had life, they had meaning. And I began to connect the depth of those words with my experiences over the many years of transcendence. And that's what prompted me to ask, what's going on here? What can I learn about this? And after I learned some things, then I had to write a book about it. I had to share
Absolutely
what this intersection between transcendence and Judaism was.
David Lieberman is our life strategist. The book is Transcendental Judaism, Enlivening the Eternal Within, to uplift ourselves and our world. And boy, don't we need that today. Let's talk for a moment about the Robinson Film Center, 617 Texas Street, downtown Shreveport. There's no place like the Robinson. Abby Singer's Bistro, full-service bistro and bar. It's going to open up tomorrow through Saturday.
It's really a jewel.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And you can go and get everything from burgers to chicken and waffles. They've got a lot of signature dishes that they're known for. The shrimp and grits and the chicken and waffles and the Cajun, Abby's Cajun. Yeah, I'm making me hungry too. And we got to wait till tomorrow because Abby Singer's Bistro on the second floor open Tuesday through Saturday for lunch and dinner. Look, Robinson Film Center is a jewel in our community. So much going on. The summer film camps. There's still time to sign up for the camp in July. You do that by going to robinsonfilmcenter.org. While you're there, check out and see what's playing right now. Join the fun. Join the crowd. Become a member. Get discounts on movies. Get concession upgrades. Get bistro deals. RFC, 617 Texas Street in downtown Shreveport, robinsonfilmcenter.org. Welcome back in to Strategies for Living. Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian with David Lieberman and his new book, Transcendental Judaism, and it is a good one. Now, we've touched on this, David. Define transcendence. How do you define that?
Very simply, I say transcendence is going beyond.
Okay.
Going beyond. So it's going beyond maybe our normal senses, feeling, even thinking and feelings. It's going to a place of the source of everything in the universe, and that's how I would describe it.
When you, of course, you studied as a young man. You were raised in a Reformed Jewish household. But then years later, you're continuing to study, and the words come alive. It's interesting to me because a lot of times we refer to the Jewish people as the chosen people. To me, the more I've studied, I think the Jewish people. I personally owe a debt of gratitude because they're the choosing people. They went from a place of relating to God as separate and in control, and now, all the way to, and you talk about this, all the way to non-duality, right?
Yes. When you transcend, you go to the place from which everything, all duality, all manifestation, is manifest, and it's a place of non-duality. That's right.
When we talk,
you talked about the chosen people, and I might make a comment about that, if that's all right with you.
Sure, please.
This concept of the Jews being a chosen people is mentioned in the Hebrew Bible. Many Christians refer to it as the Old Testament. And one other aside to throw in right now, you mentioned that I had studied Torah. Torah just means the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible.
Right.
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, which is sort of the heart of the Hebrew Bible. But so if you're reading the Hebrew Bible and sort of God says to you, you're the chosen people, it's like your dad is saying to you as a son, you're the best kid in the world, right? I mean, it's sort of in a fishbowl.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I view that God chose the Jews to live their lives through the perspective, through the teachings of the Hebrew Bible. Now, did God choose others to live their lives and set an example through the teachings of their scripture and their tradition? Absolutely. So I think to a large extent we're all chosen to live the paths that that we take on to live.
Right. You talk about, and by the way, the book Transcendental Judaism, it's available at Amazon. You can everybody knows that. You can also order
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, Barnes and Noble, all the places you buy books. You can find Transcendental Judaism. You talk about the evolution in how the Jewish people have related to God. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Let's do that. In the early days of Judaism, the Jews had not in very early days, but there was a temple in Jerusalem, and in that temple there were animal sacrifices that were performed. These sacrifices were were some of the commandments that God gave to the Jews on how to live their lives, and part of it was animal sacrifices. And back at that time, 3,000 years ago, it was part of a more worldwide culture to do sacrifices.
Right.
And the people felt closer to God as a result of that. Now, they followed the other commandments in the Bible, and many of us are familiar with what we call the 10 Commandments. But there are many other commandments.
There were a lot more.
There were a lot more.
There were a lot more. Yeah.
There were a lot more. But when the temple got destroyed, the second temple, there were a couple temples. One got destroyed, then another one got destroyed. The second one was destroyed in the year 70 of the Common Era. We couldn't perform sacrifices anymore. So other commandments sort of came to the surface that we had been practicing, but they came to the surface as more prominent. Now, this first era, when we did animal sacrifices, is referred to as the era of biblical Judaism. After the temple was destroyed, we entered into an era which we're now in called rabbinic Judaism, where rabbis sort of took more of a leadership role in helping people find their way to God and living their lives and things like that.
Right.
And the commandments in rabbinic Judaism that are now more at the forefront are commandments about study and repentance and prayer and giving to charity. These are some of the more
loving neighbor, right?
Loving neighbor. That's one of the commandments in the Bible. And I'm suggesting that we could be entering potentially a third era of Judaism that I'm calling Transcendental Judaism. And all it means is that we can broaden the ways that we connect with God, past animal sacrifices, and past performing the other commandments, and do so not by not performing the other commandments in the traditional way, but by broadening our ways in which we connect with God through this meditative quieting of the mind that gives us a direct connection to God's infinite intelligence.
Mm-hmm. And it turns out that the Jewish people have a rich history in the practice of meditation. So I'm coming back to what we started talking about in terms of how meditation really helped you to bring the words of Torah off the page. But the practice of meditation in Judaism is rich, is it not, David?
It is, and it was particularly strong back in the 16th century in Israel, when a number of sages got together and were practicing different techniques. I list probably about a dozen of them in the book. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but the common thread among all of them was the concept of unifying yourself with God, maybe nullifying your own ego, so that the source then can shine through, and isolating yourself, your thoughts from your regular practices in your life, so your mind can settle down and experience this concept of transcendence, or nothingness, no thingness, from which everything is manifest. The Jewish theology that teaches this is taught in not only traditional texts, the Bible, where if you read in Genesis 1:1, it says God created the world. In the beginning, God created the world. Out of nothing.
Right.
Out of no thingness, out of nothing.
Right.
And the spiritual teachings of Judaism, which are referred to under the name Kabbalah, teach, of course, the same thing.
You've anticipated that was the next question I was going to ask. Many of us have heard of Kabbalah. Is Transcendental Judaism part of Kabbalah, or explain that to us?
Yes. Well, it is. Transcendental Judaism, my book Transcendental Judaism, brings together the similar teachings, or some might say the exact same teachings, of traditional Jewish texts, the Hebrew Bible, Torah, and the mystical texts. The main mystical text written for Judaism is called the Zohar, and there are others as well. And all of these mystical teachings together are referred to sort of generally as Kabbalah. And Kabbalah teaches, again, just as traditional Judaism teaches, that the manifest world that we're in was created from nothingness. Again, sometimes we say no thingness. And the name in Kabbalah that's given to this are the Hebrew words Ein Sof, the Ein Sof. And that simply, Ein Sof means without end. And so it's that place from which everything springs. It has no qualities, but it has the potential for infinite qualities, infinite potential. It has the infinite intelligence of God in it, but it is nothing. It is no thing. And Kabbalah teaches that our manifest universe sprung forth from the Ein Sof through a series of 10 emanations that God made, sort of bringing God's inner qualities of life forward, sort of out from no thingness to thingness, and creating from it. And so this theology that takes us again back to the sense of this place of oneness that I actually experience.
Yes.
And of course, I'm not the only one who does.
No, but a lot of people want to know more. We talk a lot about meditation. We talk about mindfulness, and I know you have some things to say about that. I want to get a break, and then I want to come back and I want to talk a little bit about it, because sometimes people, say, well, they meditation, mindfulness, as if those are the same thing. And I want you to help us with that when we come back. Can we do that?
Very good.
David Lieberman, our life strategist today. The book is Transcendental Judaism, Enlivening the Eternal Within to Uplift Ourselves and Our World. Been going on for 101 plus years. Of course, I'm talking about the Shreveport Little Theater. The summer musical, Cole Porter's Anything Goes. You need to make your reservations right now. Summer musical always sells out. And I don't think I know this year is not going to be
It won't
any
be any
different.
different. No.
Starts July the 21st and runs through the 30th. So get your tickets right now for the summer musical, Anything Goes. And let me tell you, while you're there at ShreveportLittleTheater.com, check out the 102nd season. Always Patsy Cline in September.
Classic.
My Way, a tribute to the music of Sinatra.
I'll be
in
there.
November. I know you will. The Wonderettes are back with Winter Wonderettes in December. Dial M for Murder in February, and then we've got a bonus. We've got 5 women wearing the same dress in January. So you got some lagniappe in there. And then everything comes together in next April, Jimmy Buffett's Escape to Margaritaville. You got to get your season tickets for the 102nd season of Shreveport Little Theater, American theater at its best. And we've got it right here, 812 Margaret Place in Shreveport, ShreveportLittleTheater.com. And welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM, 710 Keel. Jimmie Bryant, David McMillian with David L. Lieberman today, the author of Transcendental Judaism, enlivening the eternal within to uplift ourselves and our world. You're stretching us, David. Good stuff.
Yeah.
You're earning your life strategist stripes here.
Oh, he's got him.
Excellent.
He's got him.
He's got him.
You've got his certificate ready.
It's done.
Huh?
Yeah.
You got some peanut butter on the top of his certificate. You need to clean that off.
Don't worry about that peanut butter.
Okay.
That's how you know that's a certificate. It's a stamp of authenticity.
That is, yeah. I'm sure he will put it on his wall proudly. Okay, David, you talk, of course, meditation has made I don't know if it's a resurgent or if it's just evolving, because it's, been a lot of people have been doing it a long time, but more and more people are talking about it.
And I know it's a almost cliche to say, but we have the internet, so
yeah,
it's more available. It just is in the last 20 years.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people say, well, meditation, mindfulness, those are the same thing. What do you say?
I say they are not the same thing. I say that mindfulness is one type of meditation and a beneficial one as well.
Okay.
But it's not the only type. So, and I haven't done a complete survey. I can't tell you how many types there are, but I do want to talk about three predominant types. And the first one I just want to mention is the type that I refer to in my book, which is a type of meditation that facilitates transcendence. It's the type of meditation where it quiets the mind, you get a sense of peaceful calm, perhaps for periods of time you're thinking no thoughts. Maybe you have this sense of oneness that you realize afterwards. That's a transcending type of meditation. Now, mindfulness is a type of meditation that also provides benefits. Let me take a step back. So in the transcending meditation, when we touch that transcendent, I talked about infinite intelligence, the source of everything, infinite potential, infinite creativity. When we touch that, and when we do it regularly over and over again, we begin to imbue that in our lives. It rubs off on us, and so the benefits is it's a broad set of benefits, and it broadens our awareness, and it helps us out in many ways. In the book, I talk about some of the actual scientific research that's been done on the improvements, the benefits, both to the individual and to actually groups, to society, when people are regularly transcending, and particularly transcending together. Okay, now mindfulness. Mindfulness is also a helpful meditation, but again, you listen to the word mindful, it almost seems like it's the opposite of transcending. Instead of emptying your mind. And so, but mindfulness is helpful too in different ways, because in mindfulness you do quiet down, perhaps you focus on the breath, but then you still want to remain aware of thoughts and emotions that come up. Maybe you'll notice a thought. You'll see how something triggers you. You'll make a connection maybe that you never made before. And there's benefits. You get some sense of your own psyche and maybe behaviors you want to change and things like that. And so mindfulness, again, is different than the type of meditation I'm talking about, but certainly has its benefits.
Right.
And then very briefly, I want to talk about a third type of meditation, which also has benefits, but different types of benefits. It's a concentration or focused type of meditation. A lot of people feel that perhaps there's a certain quality in their life that they'd like to enliven, reinforce. Maybe they want to feel more grateful or more compassionate, or more loving, or whatever it is.
Right.
You can increase those by sitting and essentially meditating, thinking about, contemplating those qualities, and just just like anything that we put our attention to, it grows stronger in our lives.
Right.
And so there's another type of meditation that can provide a different type of benefit, but not the type that I'm talking about in my book.
How would one know, David, if a meditation technique maybe that they're looking at, whatever it is, you mentioned concentration, you mentioned mindfulness, of course, and then there's the transcendental. How would I know which one is more effective in getting me to a point, facilitating transcendence?
Well, I guess at the most basic level, you can ask the teacher of meditation what type of meditation it is. But again, there's the internet, and you may not have the ability to ask those questions. But the feeling that denotes transcendence, or the sense, the experience that denotes transcendence, are the mind quiets down. You even feel sometimes that the body, follows, because the mind and the body are connected.
Right.
And you get this sense. I can only, describe my own experiences well, and I have read about it as well. It's this calmness that overtakes you, this sense of peace. Again, off and on for periods of time, you may experience no thoughts at all because you've transcended, you've gone beyond thoughts. And some people feel maybe a sense of shimmering. I felt that. Again, this sense of knowingness. Again, not knowing anything, but you're touching infinity. So, and the other thing is, it should be an easy experience because we're always connected with our source. There's a Kabbalistic teaching. I'm not sure if we're going to get into it or not. I'm going to briefly throw it out there just to make the point. There was a Jewish Kabbalist and scholar in the 20th century, so he spoke in modern terms.
Right.
And he wrote back in the mid-1900s, he said, if you view the world, the entire universe, as a tree, right, and the different parts of the tree are all the different things in the universe, the leaf and the branches and the flowers and everything like that.
Right.
Think of them as the everything different in the entire universe. Then the sap of the tree is the Ein Sof. In other words, the sap feeds everything. It has no qualities of its own, in perfect analogy, but it has no qualities of its own, but then it manifests as leaf, as flower, as fruit, as thorn, as branch. But the sap is still always there as the essence of the leaf, the flower, the branch, the thorn, the fruit. So the Ein Sof, that sense of infinity, we're never not connected with it. It's our essence.
Right.
And so the process is simply letting the mind go, and instead of following our habit of looking outward, we just let our attention fall inward. That is another maybe marker of a meditation that is a transcending type meditation, because it's easy. Right? If you have to work at it, you can't let go. Right? So it's got to be effortless.
Right. Well, I think that again, what you've got here in Transcendental Judaism, and folks, this is not a huge book. I'll hold it up here to the radio so you can see it. It's less than 130 pages, but you've got them packed full, David.
It sounds like it's still plenty to chew on.
Oh my goodness! And it's going to stretch you. You're going to you're going to find everything in here from Adam and Eve to feeling God's presence and a lot in between. So, you know, you've done, you know, this is rich. I would say that people will say, "Oh, under 130 pages, I can read that in a minute or two." Well, you don't want to. This is the kind of little book that you want to sit with.
Well, and these are the kind of talks, and Mr. Lieberman, you're the kind of guest that I think makes Strategies for a Living such a special part of Townsquare and Keel. You know, you said it best. It stretches you.
Yeah, well, that's part of what we're here to do. You know, sometimes when we're contemplating having a guest on, you say, "Oh wow, is that, you know, is the audience going to relate to that?" Part of what we're to do, I think, is to bring guests like you, David Lieberman, on that stretch us and grow us and
right.
make us, invite us, if you will. And I think it's an invitation to stretch and to grow, and that's beautiful.
Thank you. That's a real compliment. And you sound like my rabbi. And here's how you sound like my rabbi, David. My rabbi said once, people might think that after I give a sermon and the congregants come up to me and say, "Thanks, Rabbi, I could relate to that. That's very, very meaningful. I can relate to that." The rabbi says, sometimes I wish that they would say, "Rabbi, I couldn't relate to that. You've said something new that stretches me."
I love it. I knew I liked your rabbi. Transcendental Judaism, enlivening the eternal within to uplift ourselves and our world. You need to get a copy of this. David Lieberman is the author. You can find it wherever you buy books, at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, out from Resource Publications. We'll be back to wrap up our conversation today with David Lieberman here on Strategies for Living. Be right back.
If your child has ADHD and reading issues, Learning Rx Shreveport can help. I'm Donisa Walker with Learning Rx Shreveport. More than 30% of children with dyslexia also have ADHD. That can make reading very difficult. At Learning Rx Shreveport, our brain trainers can improve your child's long-term memory, auditory processing, and logic and reasoning. Today, call Learning Rx Shreveport. Make an appointment to have your child assessed. I know you want to help your child, so does Learning Rx Shreveport.
it's alright.
Yeah, you're going to love it too. Transcendental Judaism. David Lieberman, welcome back in to 1017 FM, 710 Keel. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. What do you want people to take away? You got about a minute here, David. What do you want people to really take away from our conversation this evening?
What I'd like people to take away is the idea that we all are never not connected with our eternal selves. That's why my book is not subtitled Connecting with the Eternal Within to Uplift Ourselves in Our World. It's called Enlivening the Eternal Within. It's already there. We're connected with it. And whether we do it through Jewish teachings of any other religion, through secular practices, having a sense of the infinite, the eternal in our lives, and growing it through the repeated experiences of touching it is healing and beneficial not only to ourselves, but to the world around us.
Amen. We need more of this. David Lieberman, thank you so much for the work you're doing. Thank you for the book, Transcendental Judaism. Thank you for being a fantastic life strategist here on Strategies.
He really has been great.
We'll have you back soon.
Great, and thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Absolutely. Transcendental Judaism, David Lieberman. Folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living, and we appreciate our sponsors bringing us here. Azalea Cleaners, the Robinson Film Center, Learning Rx, Cannabis with Love, Hempress, 3766 Uri Drive in Shreveport, and the Shreveport Little Theater.
Did you say Pintail?
No, Pintail Roofing.
Roof.
If today were the last day, keep me straight. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? What would you say? And why are you waiting? Make the call for Jimmie Bryant, who keeps me straight, and for David Lieberman.
That's right.
I'm David McMillian. See you next time on Strategies for Living.